the Japanese attack force, to give us just some idea, and I wish we could spend more time on this, it is just a fascinating battle to kind of look at, because we see that they actually sneak a very large force just right up into the Hawaiian Islands. So they have 81 fighter planes, about 135 dive bombers, which kind of like go very close in. We're going to look at kind of the devastation these planes do to these ships. You have about 104 horizontal bombers, which are these like drop the larger bombs. They don't like really dive in low or go high. They just kind of stay horizontal the whole time. But they also drop like the larger torpedoes and things like that. You have other planes that are just like 40 of them that are just specifically engineered to drop torpedoes themselves. So their whole goal with this, and with these submarines as well, is to take out the U.S. Navy. So they want to help out not only themselves, but also Germany, but just wiping out the U.S. Navy. So their whole goal with this is to take out these aircraft carriers. So not only will you take out these huge like gunboats, these like military anti-aircraft weapons on these large boats, but also they want to take the aircraft carriers, which for them, that protects their island, because if you can't, these fighter planes don't have enough fuel to actually reach the Japanese mainland, you have to like float one of these giant boats close enough and then launch your planes from that boat. So their whole goal is to take out this fleet of aircraft carriers which were docked in Pearl Harbor. So one of the biggest mistakes of this whole kind of the United States starting the war is it was very preventable. The U.S. actually broke Japanese codes and learned of the attack. So we're going to talk about a little bit later this kind of like back and forth with these codes and trying to break the codes to where with the radio and how it was, the technology, for these boats to send the coordinates to the planes about where you need to drop the bombs, you would have to send this radio signal. That radio signal was actually able to be picked up by your enemy just a few miles away or a certain amount of space away. But the whole deal of it was that you knew they could overhear you, but you got to come up with a code so that even though they overhear it, they don't know what it means. However, the United States was able to actually break this code, but the mistake was in like running it up the ladder. They didn't actually take it seriously enough. They were like, there's no way this size of an army could actually, like, military could get this close. So they think, oh, these like radars must be wrong. There must be something going on with like the equipment must be malfunctioning. So they actually kind of delay sending it up the ladder by 2 hours. And that 2 hours is absolutely detrimental, because by the time it reaches the Pearl Harbor, the island, they're in the middle of the bombing anyways. So it could have been preventable. You could have been more prepared. You could have had more men stationed in these anti-aircraft gun turrets. You could have sailed some of the boats out into open water, but that obviously is not the case. So all of a sudden the radar starts picking up a ton of these planes. They start realizing that they are just right on the shores. But these military officers, again, they start dismissing these reports as they think that these are American fighter pilots. They think there's no way there could be this many of an enemy aircraft this close, so they actually just disregard it despite this earlier warning. So this is like an aerial shot, and we're going to see a couple of these. This is just a good idea of this devastation that happens. To avoid a lot of these like gun turrets here, we're going to see how these Japanese fighter pilots will fly straight down these kind of like waterways, and basically what just happens, because the planes or the boats were not fully prepared for this attack, they are all just docked right here. You can see they're just in like a straight line, a super easy target, where you have these planes, you can kind of see their path, they kind of sail around, and it becomes so easy for them that you actually see them making about 3 runs. Each pilot gets to actually go around, drop all their bombs. They shoot their, like the dive bombers dive down shooting the machine guns. You have some kamikazes are just dive straight into the ships. And there's even some that are able to come all the way back around and then come in for a second shot. So it's absolutely devastating. As you can see, all the boats that are sunk are the red ones. The orange ones are the ones that are just so heavily damaged that they're unusable. And then you have a few that are moderately damaged, but basically you can see almost the entire fleet that is docked is hit, at least of the large gunboats. One of the most fortunate things for the United States from this attack is the fact that the aircraft carriers, the whole goal of those Japanese pilots to take out, they have done a surprise kind of like practice mission to where they were out in the open ocean somewhere down here just doing a practice run of some maneuvers. And so the Japanese, their intelligence had told them, their scouts had said, oh no, they're docked. And so they all suddenly show up and they weren't looking out the ocean for these boats. So it's actually very fortunate that it could have been much, much worse.